Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
All righty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are at all over the world. Welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and now you are in touch with the compensatory concept. I am the co-host, Mr. Bobby, and on the line with me from Washington, D.C., which I will introduce in a few minutes and present to others, Mr. Neely Fuller. But this is radio the way it should be heard. That opening statement is probably, in my estimate, one of the most profound statements that I have ever heard in my life. And all Mr. Fuller simply said was, if you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Mr. Fuller often states that that all problems, you ask questions to solve the problems that you have. And it's a simple thing. Break it down. If. What does that mean? If you, talking to you, if you what? If you do not understand. If I do not understand what? What is it to understand? He identifies as white supremacy. That's the target. If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, then he says what? What it is. What is racism? And then, and how it works. You see, there's two things here. What is it? Identify, answer that question, and then answer the next question. How does it work? This what he came up with. Listen to what he came up with. Not everything you think. He said everything else that you understand, that's powerful, will only confuse you. I came in with that because a lot of people, they hear the opening of the program and they go over that. In my discussions this week, we broke that down. What are you talking about? If. What does the word if mean? If you do not what? If you do not understand. What does understand mean? You're asking questions. And then the target is identified. White supremacy. Well, what is it? And how does it work? Because if you don't understand that, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. I thought I would bring that up because I don't want that statement for you to go unchecked. Check it out. See what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then get an understanding of what you're doing. And with that, I'd like to introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller. Mr. Fuller, before I ask you what's on your mind for this week, what do you think about that opening, about that statement that you penned, it says here, back in 1971?
That explains the whole thing of what I've been talking about and what I've written. I came to the conclusion that out of all the millions of problems that people have on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all over the entire planet, different types of people, that out of all of those problems, there is a major problem. Major meaning the problem that's bigger than all other problems.
Yes.
And I concluded, some might say erroneously, I say that I'm convinced of it, that the problem we loosely call racism, that I say is in the form of something called white supremacy, is the biggest problem on the planet. And I concluded that you can't solve any other problem, major problem. You can solve a lot of little problems for a little while to get through the day, but you can't solve any major problem in any of the major areas of activity without solving the problem of racism in the form of white supremacy. Now, what areas of activity am I talking about? I'm talking about most of the things that people do in an interactive way. Mm-hmm. The way they interact with each other and the way they interact with their general environment each and every day, hour by hour, minute by minute. And that's economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Now, all of these areas of activity have huge problems among the people of the entire planet. But you can't solve any of the major problems in any of those areas of activity, whether it's education or religion or economics or sex. You can't solve any of those problems without first solving the problem of racism, white supremacy, which is a system that is designed to cause problems by dominating and mistreating people because they have color in their skin.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the premise.
That's the premise.
And so, starting with that, the people who believe in white supremacy have a code for doing so. They have a way of going about making it work, as I said in the statement.
Yes, sir.
White supremacy, what it is and how it works.
Yes, sir.
And so they have a code in all of those areas of activity for seeing to it that that system works. Mm-hmm. In economics, education, entertainment, politics, all of them, all of the areas of activity. They have a way of going about doing what they do to see to it that racism is going to be the dominant factor in all of those areas of activity.
Right.
Mistreating people based on color. Now, in order to counter that, you have to have a code that will compensate and or counteract what the racists are doing in each one of those areas of activity according to their code. There does not exist any such code. There's a concept. I tried to write one about how to go about constructing one, but there's none in place now, which is why you have what you have. And that is a system of government that dominates the behavior of the people of this entire planet. And you can't straighten out any problem without trying, or really without actually doing the work that it takes, the codified work, to counteract and eliminate the system of white supremacy and replace it with what? The logical thing, a system of justice and correctness.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, there you have it. Because if you don't, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Very powerful. Before we open up the phone lines, Mr. Fuller, is there anything that was on your mind that you'd like to bring to light before we open up the phone calls and get the some of the emails?
Just an extension of what we just mentioned. Early this morning, I was looking at a TV program, and there was still talk about Black Lives Matter and that law enforcement shootings and whatnot that seem to continue, or so-called police brutality that seems to be continuing. And I have said over and over and over again that this is going to keep happening over and over and over again.
Yes, you have.
Until you eliminate the entire system of racism, which means, first of all, you're going to have to get a correct understanding, a constructive understanding, and constructive interaction between the white people of this planet and the non-white people of the planet, particularly the darker people who are classified, generally speaking, as black. You're going to have to get a constructive interaction between the two people. Otherwise, all of this is going to continue. It doesn't make any difference how many marches you have, how many people are going to go to meetings and go on and on and on about this incident and that incident. Even while they're talking, these incidents will continue.
That's right.
Why? Because there is not a constructive interaction that's going on between the average white person on the planet and the average black person on the planet. That is mandatory if you're going to stop what they say, this so-called police brutality, police misconduct, or whatever you want to call it, or the shootings that happen. It's going to go on and on and on. It's not going to stop until there is an overall constructive interaction between the average white person and the average black person everywhere on the planet, period.
Okay. All righty. Well, you're welcome to chime in, and you can do so now by calling 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and I will not guarantee that I will get your question on because I have a lot of backed up questions, and I will try to get to them as quickly as I can. That is 1-877-932-9766. You can call in now, and we are ready to receive your call. You are right now listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and I'm the co-host, Mr. Bobby. He is the author of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. It's a textbook and workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, which is white supremacy. And you can get that book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com, and all the information on how to obtain a copy of this book will be there for you to get, and also a word guide is also there for a separate purchase. You can get those, and you need those, as he will explain later why the word guide is important. Know the importance of words. So do we have a call here? Galen? Yes, okay. Galen, line number 1. You are first up with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. What is your question?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
My question is about, the painting the face black. Can Mr. Fuller elaborate on where that comes from? And I personally think it's not okay, but it's a lot of non-white people that think there's no problem with it, just Halloween and this and that. But if you can just elaborate where that comes from.
Did you say painting your face black?
Yeah, non-white people.
Okay.
Non-black people painting their face black.
Mr. Fuller?
As a form.
Well, everything in the system of white supremacy is supposed to be supportive of the system of white supremacy, if it has any significance at all. So anything that you will see huge numbers of white people supporting in a world that's dominated by the concept and the practice of racism is going to be dominated by people doing things in their behavior that supports the concept and the practice of racism. That would include any religious ceremonies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and pagan ceremonies, such as Halloween. Yes, Halloween consists of what? For one thing, you can make all kinds of psychological and comparisons in the ingredients of that. You have colors there orange, black people, you can think of, people who, under the system of white supremacy, are supposed to be scary. So therefore, you have witches, who are all black and whatnot, and dressed up in black, and riding around on broomsticks and whatnot. And then you have the orange background, and orange is kind of associated, really, with orange jumpsuits in the prison system, which have black people inside of the orange jumpsuits. So the white supremacists usually kind of, even if something doesn't even start out as being racial, they will find a way to make it racial, because that's the way their minds work. Hey, we got a new type of game going here and whatnot. How can we make it racial? If we're going to have a game of checkers, make it black and red, or, the original checkerboard, I think, was strictly black and white. And I think chessboards are basically that way even now.
Yes.
All right, black against white, and white against black, and this is supposed to be called, the real gentleman's game. High-class thinking, forward thinking, but, in opposition. So Halloween would be no exception to that. And it deals what? With death.
With death.
Blackness.
Right.
Yes. Lots of death. Everything is scary. Everything is something, trees on a hillside. Or drawn in a way that they look like they are black and look like they're stripped of their leaves and all that. And then you have, all kinds of creatures walking around called zombies and whatnot. And zombies, historically, were considered to be dead people who were black, who were risen from the grave and threatening the people who have some life left in them, and all this type of thing. So it's just about a racial connection in anything that you look at all around you, all the time.
A lot of codes and a lot of symbolism.
Yes.
All right, thank you, my brother. That was a very good question. Thank you very much. Talktainment Radio is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility that have hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, health, wellness, religion, and politics. And here's one that I would like to share with you. It's called Front Street with Charles Traylor. Now, if it's on the front page, it's on Front Street. So you can join co-host Charles Traylor for Front Street, a radio show designed to offer listeners an opportunity to participate in meaningful dialogue on today's important political issues. Want to stay informed on what's happening locally or nationally? Tune in each week as Traylor and his guests discuss the issues that matter to you. And that is broadcast on Wednesdays exclusively here on TalkTainmentRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. You are also listening to The Compensatory Concept on TalkTainmentRadio.com with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I am the co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. Let's go to, by the way, you can call in 1-877-932-9766, and we will get to your call. Mr. Fuller, I have a call, or rather a comment from Taylor House. He says, it seems as if gentrification is happening all over the country. How is it that white people knew when to start moving back into black neighborhoods? It's like they had a signal that the coast is clear. Can you help us on that?
Well, in the system of white supremacy, the white supremacists go where they please. Non-white people go where they are sent. Sent by whom? The white supremacists. Black people don't move white people out of any place, anywhere on this planet. It's always the white supremacists who say what eminent domain is, meaning anywhere on the planet. I'll sail any ocean, and you will go on that ocean only where I allow allow you to go or on that river or in that stream if you have color in your skin. If you're the chief of an Indian tribe, the white supremacists will say, well, this is no longer your hunting grounds. This is my hunting grounds. And if you think that they're not, I'll be hunting for you. And that will be a short hunt, because I'll make mincemeat out of you, and you know I can do that. You people don't have any way of being resisting me. Your record shows that. I conquered you. So, if you want to go up and down this stream and do some fishing, you're going to do so with my permission. I'll fish in that stream when I get ready. Not only that, I'll poison it.
Yeah.
I'll dump waste in it. And you can't stop me. And you don't know anybody who's big enough to stop me from doing it. You can have your little tribal dances and all like that, but it's not going to help you to stop me. You don't know how to stop me. I have a code. You don't have a code that's designed to eradicate white supremacy. That's why you have failed at everything you've ever tried to do. All you people who call yourselves tribal members of the different Indian tribes throughout the entire planet, and any other African tribes and whatnot. You're pretty super in your tribe. You're a pretty big person in your tribe. But when you get in my face, you find out what hell is, because I'm a white supremacist, and I determine what is going to be gentrified or non-gentrified, what is going to be a slum, and what is going to be upscale. I decide all of this. You don't decide anything, not on my planet, Negro.
Okay. All righty. Got another question here. 1-877-932-9766. This is from LaShonda. She says, Mr. Fuller, why do you feel that the imbalance between the male and female principles in life is not the true source of our problem instead of white supremacy?
The imbalance between male and female?
Yes.
Oh, sure. There's not going to be, you can't get a correct relationship between black males and black females. It's not going to happen. Not under the system of white supremacy. It's not designed to support that. So you make do the best way you can. We all do. But we do that with the understanding it's not going to be anywhere close to the way it ought to be, because all of the areas of activity, economics, our educational system, our labor system, all of the areas of activity, how we have to make a living, whatnot. I mean, putting up with the gentrification, everything that you name, the religious institutions. You still have, this is 2015, you have what we call not a Christian church. It's not called that. It's called that, I mean, generally speaking. But we say, when we start talking about the racial element, we say black church. What is the black church doing? Well, the very fact you're saying black church means, wait a minute, I thought Christians were Christians.
Mm-hmm.
You know, coming together in the body of Christ. That once you become a Christian, that's universal. All Christians are always together. Christians don't have any fight with each other, you know. But
yeah.
It seems like all the evidence shows that, you know, you got Christians of a color, and then you got Christians of non-color, and somehow the color and the non-color trumps everything that's in that Bible from front to back. And we prove it every Sunday.
So you don't feel that
white people going in one direction,
mm-hmm.
black people going in the other direction.
So you don't feel that the problem is between the male and female at its beginning. You feel that it is the as you have written about racism, white supremacy.
Sure,
mm-hmm.
That's what it is. The white supremacists. There's no such thing as a black male. Black males strut around all over the world talking about I'm the head of the household. I'm the head of this house. Woman, You're supposed to do what I tell you to do. Well, who tells you what to do, black male? Who tells you what to do? At the end of a whip, as far back as you can remember, he tells you, the white supremacists, racist man and racist woman, they determine what your fate is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not the head of any household. You're not the head of anything. So you can just work with that black female in partnership, equal partners, because you're equal partners in slavery. You're still at the bottom of that slave ship, chained together naked.
Okay.
Chained together by whom? Racist man and racist woman. We serve them. So you're not the head of anything.
You're not the head of anything.
I'm a black male. I'm not in charge of anything on this planet. You say, well, what about your offspring? Definitely not in charge of them. The white supremacists determine what school they're going to go to, what they're going to learn when they get there, and what they had better learn.
And what they better
in
learn.
order to qualify for what? The standards that the white supremacists set. That's what. Otherwise, you ain't going to eat. All of you. You black male and you black female and all of your offspring are totally dependent on me. And proof of it is you can see whole armies that look like armies, but really they're refugees, of black people with their babies in their arms trying to find what? Trying to get the answer to one question. Which way did the white people go? Because we have nothing without them. We don't even know how to do anything without them.
Wow.
We gotta wake up and smell the coffee.
Okay. Wow. Let's see here. We've got another question here. This comes from, let's see, what's his name? Mr. Henry. He says, can Mr. Fuller's book be made into an e-book? And would that solve his problem of selling the book worldwide? William Henry. Ooh, yeah, okay.
Well, I've been looking into that, too, as a venue. And rather, I haven't been looking into it. I have asked people who I'm associated with to look into it and see about the viability of that. And I'm always concerned about the contamination. See, so therefore, I'm always considering that factor.
Okay.
And what do I mean by that? Because some people might say, well, what is he talking about? Well, I'm talking about what has actually happened with the Black Lives Matter movement, according to some of the rumors I'm hearing and some of the news reports, that they have what they call, the people that started it out now beginning to say, wait a minute, this is not what we started out to do. And now we got all kinds of elements, and some people are being accused of doing all kinds of stuff that's associated with Black Lives Matter. See, and this is what happens when you start trying to organize something,
right.
and you start getting people who won't identify themselves
involved
in things. And that can easily happen in the electronic age.
Going back to the previous question, I didn't mean to imply that the imbalance between black and white, just particular, or black males. Why do you feel, the question was, why do you feel the imbalance is between male and females? Not necessarily black males or black people, for that matter, just male and female relationships.
Oh, male and female relationships, as far back as I have been informed, unless I've been misinformed, I could have been, there have been that difference, conflict that goes way back to what we might call biblical times and pre-biblical times. Even before the Bible was written. And just like there have been conflict between all people.
Okay.
Either minor conflicts or major conflicts.
Okay. We're going to hit the rest of that on the other side of the break. TalkTameRadio.com. Check us out on WCRS FM 98.3 Wednesday and Sunday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. Download TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or tablet. We go where you go, radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. More of your questions and calls coming up next on TalkTameRadio.com.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is the premier internet radio platform offering 40-plus talk radio-style programs professionally produced, optimized for online distribution, featuring Columbus, Ohio on-air personalities. TalkTainmentRadio.com offers listeners diverse programming options covering topics such as arts and culture, love, life and relationships, technology, religion, paranormal activities, local and national politics, women's issues, alongside health and wellness. Listeners can access their favorite TalkTainmentRadio.com programs free of cost through the website. Download the TTR app to your cell phone and you can take us wherever you go. We have programs on demand to fit your schedule through our podcast. The address is TalkTainmentRadio.com.
At Word Automotive Sales, you can get a car with no credit, no interest, and no finance charges. That's right, no credit, no interest, and no finance charges. Word Automotive Sales will work with you. Call them at 614-237-5171 or stop in at 3333 East Main Street. Tell them that All in Our Family sent you. Don't forget the Word Automotive Sales.
614-237-5171. That's 614-237-5171.
Seniors, are you planning on setting aside a portion of your assets for children, grandchildren, church, or favorable charity? A1 Insurance can give you some insight about a single premium whole life insurance policy that is being utilized by seniors to transfer a portion of your assets to the next generation, free of federal income tax. Call 614-354-3542 and tell them All in Our Family sent you.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. But a little over a year ago, we realized she couldn't take care of herself without our help. And, well, how could I not be there for her? I had no idea how hard it would be, and just what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood, and even for me, ways to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics that got me started, but also information about the hurdles I was facing in this new role. I could even connect with experts and hear from others who had been in my place. I know this road we're on isn't an easy one, but I'm really happy to have the extra help for her and for me. Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. This message is brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman!
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
My suit can still make an impression.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill, it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? Amid the chaos? Or is the best time perhaps today? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-54 461-202-484-5461.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
You got the power.
Okay, welcome back to the second slice of the action on TalkTainmentRadio.com. That's radio the way it should be heard. You're listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and I am the co-host, Mr. Bobby. We've been having a tremendous discussions. Before we go to the phone lines, don't forget tomorrow at 7 p.m., Talktainment Radio is going to have Driven Women Speak. Man, it's going to be outstanding with host Julie Whitney Scott. And these women really get down on talking about various issues. Now, women will actually tune in and listen to the program, and you need to, too. That's Driven Women Speak right here exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you call if you want to get in contact with the show, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and I will try to get your question on if I can. Let's go to the phone line. Which line are we on? Line number 1? Okay, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. This is Tyreek from the Bronx.
Okay, Tyreek.
Yes, good morning. My question to Mr. Fuller, I heard him earlier in the show, just before the break, mentioning that black people don't even have control over their children because the white supremacists own them as well. So my question to Mr. Fuller is, would it be wise of us to construct schools, our own schools and our own businesses for which we can have economic power, while at the same time trying to end the system of white supremacy?
Well, yes, but when you say school, see, the entire universe is a school. That's why some buildings that, where people go to learn things are called universities. We're talking about the entire universe. So it's not just putting up a building somewhere and calling it a school. The entire universe is a school. We need a code where we tap into what's around us every day. All education really is being able to solve your problems. That's what education is for, problem solving. If you, as an individual, can look around you, wherever you happen to be on the planet, and say, oh, I have a problem here, or I have 20 problems here, but I can solve them all. That's it, right there. So what we need is a behavioral concept that takes that into account. In other words, that makes that type of concept center stage, not going somewhere and setting up something. You're set up, you're a person, you're breathing right now. All you have to really do, each and every person, and this is why I call it the compensatory code concept, we just need a code for solving problems and be in that frame of mind. Every situation, for the most part, is a problem-solving situation. Black people have not been taught to solve problems. We have been systematically taught by the white supremacists to make minor problems, and then they make a game out of solving the problems themselves, just like a jigsaw puzzle. That's probably why they call it jig.
Jig, yeah, I was thinking that, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
In other words, we got these people out here that do nothing but make problems. That's the only thing they know how to do. They don't know how to solve anything. They're not even in a frame of mind where they even want to solve a problem. Black people walking them down the street, particularly all the young ones, until they get too old to do so, just looking for a problem to make. That they are problem makers. They are not problem solvers. You don't call for a black person anywhere in the world to solve a problem. You're making a bigger problem when you call on them to do anything unless you got a gun to their head. And you are their master every step of the way. Because if you leave them on their own, they will not solve a problem, but they will definitely make 1 or 2 or 3 or 300. That is the frame of mind that they have put us in.
Okay.
And we have gotten to the place where we worship making problems.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, truth be told.
Truth be told.
So in order to come out of this, you said school. School is any time your brain is working. And your brain my brain should be working. Everybody's brain should be working. Now, am I faced with a problem? Everybody's faced with some kind of problem every minute of the day. Then you just say, I'm going to be a problem solver. I'm not going to be a problem maker. That's the first step we have to take. Just that first simple step.
Step, right.
Rather than going somewhere looking for a space somewhere to set up 4 walls and then call that a school. We're already in school. You never are out of school. You're in school right where you are. It just depends on what you're teaching.
Still learning. All righty. Thank you, Brother Tyreek from the Bronx. Going back just one more. It says, Mr. Fuller, do you think that a more accurate system description concerning male and female relationships would be the system of the Roman Empire manipulated by white supremacists?
Same thing. The Roman Empire is just a glorification of white supremacy. I mean, just look at the black people who were a part of the so-called Roman Empire. What were they? They were slaves. They were dragged over there to the Colosseum, where the white supremacists would go over to the Colosseum and sit in the audience, and you can say they kind of do that today, while the slaves got eaten by the lions. And the white women would sit up there and applaud. Or they'd have them fighting each other, just like the white supremacists have black people hunting each other down, even as we speak right now. Black people all over the map hunting each other down with guns, saying, I'm going to kill me somebody that looks like me today, or I am going to die trying. And so that hasn't changed. It's just an extension of the so-called Roman Empire.
Okay.
Rome didn't fall. It just expanded.
Okay. All righty. You're listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I am the co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. Daryl writes this. I've been enjoying your show, Mr. Fuller, for a long time, and I'm ordering the book. I was wondering if someone has ever tried erecting an indigenous central bank that we can pledge to, with all non-black people. Where all non-black people can concentrate efforts to buy land and property, one lot at a time, then one city at a time. Only black people can participate till they have clear and full understanding Mr. Fuller's and Welsing's book, like a Black Wall Street and a Garvey combo concert. I guess he's referring to Marcus Garvey. Anyway, keep up the work. Sometimes it is I feel dialing in, but I can't write at this time. But understanding and making it plain, you do. Thank you very much, Daryl.
Sure. We can establish black banks if the white supremacists will allow us to do so. They may or they may not. And if they determine that they won't, they won't. And if they determine that we will, we will. Because we are under the system of white supremacy. There's no place to get out from under them. I mean, sometimes black people think that, well, if we do this and do that among ourselves, I mean, we are no longer under the authority of the white supremacists, because now we have our own banks and our own grocery stores, and they can't tell us what to do. Well, there are banks and grocery stores all over a continent called Africa, and not 1 inch of it is not under the domination of the white supremacists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole continent, not talking about a side of town over on the other side of the tracks. I mean, setting up some type of resurrected Tulsa, Oklahoma type Black Wall Street. The white supremacists can do that. I mean, with a snap of a finger. That wouldn't take but 15 minutes, and they could have that done. They could have that done overnight, all over the place, if black people wanted it and said that they wanted it, and the white supremacists said you can have it. But it still would mean that the white supremacists would control it. Why? Because they control black people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. Our minds are controlled by them. So we'll still be doing the same thing.
Same thing. Mm-hmm.
Just with more money. Black people have more money now than they had when they were in chains. But look at how we act. Have we improved as a people in our minds? Not 1 inch.
So, Mr. Fuller, do you think that there's been a call for the boycotting of Black Friday and a few other things? Do you think that this call to not participate in Black Friday and the upcoming Christmas and all that thing will be of any value or any good?
Oh, sure. That would be of value all the way around the clock.
Okay.
We shouldn't be celebrating anything anyway. One of the ugliest sights you'll ever see on this planet while you're breathing is a black person celebrating. Why? Where's the logic? The logic is celebrating what?
Yeah.
Look at the condition. We're in the worst condition mentally of any people on the planet. The people who are classified as black all over the planet. So we're not qualified. That's the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people will say, oh, Fuller, we got to celebrate. And we're not. No. Educate. These so-called celebrations that we have should be used to educate about how to do what? How to solve a problem. That's what.
How to solve the problem.
We don't have any business running around celebrating anything, tooting horns and turning flips, clapping our hands and jumping up and down. I mean, every 5 minutes, the black people want to break out the banjo. And the white supremacists will support it because, people who are celebrating are not thinking about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any difference whether it's the streets of New York or South Side Chicago or New Orleans or Mardi Gras time in Brazil. Is, the only time that black people seem like they come alive rather than kill each other up there in those hills around Rio is when they come down to do the boogaloo for a few days in Rio every year, and then back to business as usual, which is slaughtering each other.
Wow.
Does that make any sense at all? Is this the way to keep going year after year after year? No, we're not qualified. We're not qualified to celebrate not even one person's birthday.
I wasn't aware of that, but that is insane. Wow. I got a question from Mary. She says, best to you, Mr. Fuller. And to the listeners, this is Mary at your bookstore for Justice Info, where self-growth and development is the focus. Mr. Fuller, what is the particular blockage, hindrance for some individuals to see that the issue is white supremacy? Thanks for answering, and I'm still learning.
Just point it out, like we're doing on this program. You'll just say, the world is full of problems. We started out saying that. The world is full of problems. What's the biggest problem? When you sit down and just go through everything that everybody's doing everywhere on the planet, the problem is that color line, like W.E.B. Du Bois said many, 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 many decades ago. He said the problem of the entire past 100 years was the problem of the color line. That's still the problem in the form of a system of white supremacy. As long as you have that, you're going to have all these other problems. You can cry about it, march about it, sing about it, write poems about it, but that problem is going to remain until we get serious about making that the priority. Rather than having another picnic, another barbecue, black people, we should say, what can I do today that will help to solve the problem of racism? Wow. Suppose every black person on the planet woke up every morning thinking just that. What can I do today? What can I say today? What white person can I talk to today that would help to solve the race problem? What black person can I talk to?
Yes. Okay. 1-877-932-9766. I want to apologize to Brother Jamal, who has tried to call in. He knows who he is, but I will answer your question. He said there was a problem with the phone line, but there is? There no more? Okay. Well, anyway, Brother Jamal, I'm going to ask you your question. For Mr. Fuller, will you use measures or actions to vet or pre-screen or secure whether platform, whatever platform, forum, or program you go on to avoid non-constructive dialogue or activity? Is there a way you can project or foresee something that will be non-constructive?
Oh, I don't know if I understood that question.
Well, let me read it again. Will you use measures or actions to vet or pre-screen or secure whatever platform, forum, or program you go on to avoid non-constructive dialogue or activity?
Oh, no, I don't pre-screen anything.
Mm-hmm.
No, all questions are valid. There's no such thing as a question without an answer. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. The record of the universe shows that. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. So therefore, when you start saying, well, we don't deal with that question. Well, now, all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to have some questions that you are not willing to deal with, it means you're not going to solve problems.
Okay. Then
every question is valid. There's no such thing as an invalid question.
Okay. Well, he says, such as speaking with someone on a program who is not acting in a constructive manner, like having more argument than civilized discussion, that can be problematic overall.
The process is still the same. Questions and answers.
Okay.
Questions and answers. That's all you have to remember. You don't have to deal with what people's motives might be. Just say, hey, do we have a question or not?
Okay.
And if you got a question, then ask the question and then come up with the answer to the question, because every question has an answer, even if the answer is temporarily, I don't know.
Okay. All right, Brother Jamal. Sorry you couldn't get in, but there is no more problem with the phone lines. Okay, line number, what is that, Galen? Line number one. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Hello, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, and I want to make two statements. Okay, one, last night on History Channel, I saw about the Romans. And one of the things that they did to the slaves was that if you murdered your master, however many slaves were in the household got killed, because one of them killed the master, and 400 slaves got marched into the Coliseum and got killed. But the other statement I want to make is about the media. The media has always demonized the black man, but now you see a plethora of the black men on TV. They are shucking and jiving all the time. I'm talking about like Shaq, the other guy Choose, and what's his name, Steve Harvey, all of them. It's always they make him funny. They laugh and see the teeth all the time. But then the women, they don't want to have the serious shows on, like Melissa Harris Perry, and they use that against us, and say, well, the black man not qualified. You don't want to put us on these different venues and stuff, and then they keep accepting roles that's just funny all the time. We play too much with that being funny, want to laugh all the time. We need to do better than that. And I thank you, and I love y'all. Thank you so much.
Okay. Mr. Fuller, on your viewing of the programs that are on television, have you noticed any trends that are non-constructive?
Well, sure, but you do the best you can. See, the white supremacists, we're all prisoners of war. So the prison masters will come and tell the prisoners, well, you can have some entertainment here in my prison, which is the whole planet, but it's a prison for you under me. So I'll allow my prisoners to have a little banjo time, my slaves to, play the flute or whatever, or the fiddle. I mean, like Fiddler and the movie Roots and whatnot. I'll allow you to entertain yourselves. I mean, give you a little relief and all like that, and entertain us. Come up to the big house and entertain the missus. I mean, we'll allow you to do that. Well, you got a choice. You either remain just down there in squalor in the slave shanties and whatnot, or you go up to the big house and play the fiddle. But now here's what. You are learning something about the big house. See, that's the compensatory part. See, so you go ahead and take these little jobs, but you take it with the understanding, because we all have to have jobs in the prison system. So if you're working in the woodwork shop, like in the movie Shawshank Redemption, Red was down there, Morgan Freeman, in the woodwork shop. But what was he learning? He was learning something about woodwork. Now, if you remember the movie, at the end of the movie, he joined with Tim Robbins at the end of the movie in doing what? Not just running a hustle in a prison because he was out of the prison, but maybe a little bit of the skills he learned in that woodwork shop will allow him to rebuild a boat down in, say, Wataneo, which is where he went after he jumped bail. See? So any situation where you might can learn a little more than you knew before, you just might have to go and take it, because we all do. We all have jobs that we'd rather not have and whatnot. And you'll say, well, you're working for the racist man. Well, if you're anywhere on this planet, you're working for racist man and racist woman. So, but you try to temper your little clowning that they force you to do with putting in 2 or 3 things that may be of some value to someone in a constructive manner.
Yes.
And you learn how to do that as you go along. Because remember, we're all in this prison, and the prison has rules. They're only going to let you go so far anyway. But you can learn some things better in some situations than you can in others. Just learn how to do business, how to go on television and what television is like when you're in a studio. If you're not in there, you'll never know that.
Yes, right. Before we close, would you have a parting word or words of wisdom for our listeners?
Well, not necessarily wisdom, but I started off this program talking about this police brutality thing. I'm going to repeat it again. The 3 things that you don't do. 1, 2, 3. Don't fuss. Don't fight. Don't flee. I saw a clip just this morning of a law enforcement officer throwing a black female all over a classroom and all like that.
All over the classroom.
Now, people just keep getting incensed about these things. These things are going to continue. Cement that in your mind. It's not going to stop.
She was asked to leave.
The system of racism.
She was asked to leave the classroom, but didn't. So you're saying don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee.
You don't fight, and you don't flee for a very practical reason. You're going to lose. That's what. You're going to lose. And I wanted to add something else about this little petty robbing and stealing.
Yes, sir.
Liquor store robberies and all like that.
Yes,
Street
sir.
robberies among black people. Stop and think one thing. This is a business enterprise. How long do you think you can run that business and get rich? You think you're going to rob people on bus stops and get rich? You may get away 5 or 6 times if you're lucky. Maybe by the time you get to that 5th year's time, you're doing hard time.
All righty.
It's not a good business.
We'll leave it right there. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening. Listen, we'll see you next week. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Thanks for listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard. You've got the power. The world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com.